So going ahead, now we'll see the permissions. Okay, under permissions, you can define what are the permissions that are to be given to this particular role. It can be divided into 5 things: transactions, reports, list, setup, and custom record. Transactions are nothing but all the standard transactions such as purchase order, sales order, invoice, cash sale, bills, everything, every transaction would come here. Okay, so here, in case if you want to give a permission to a particular specific role, you can just select it from the list. So for example, adjust inventory, and you can define the level of the permission. Yesterday we went through this, yeah, right? What should be the permission level? Do you remember what do you mean by view, create, edit, and full? Create as well as edit.
Yeah.
Create in the sense you will be only able to create it. Once you save it, you will not be able to edit it.
Yeah.
In edit, you can create, and once you have saved it, in case if you want to edit, you can edit it as well.
Edit.
What do you mean by
full? Includes all the
delete access also.
delete also.
Yes. So in case if we want these particular user to be able to delete a particular transaction, we can give the full access. Okay. And if you try to enter any option wherein it is already added, it will give you a message that permission should be unique. Okay, so the adjust inventory is already given that, or you have already given the permission to adjust inventory. Okay, so this is how you can give the permission to a particular transaction. Do you get it?
Yes.
Same for reports. There are various reports, right? Standard as well as custom reports. So in case if you want to give this particular user access to a particular report, you can just select the report and give them the access accordingly. Okay. Apart from that, lists are nothing but, here you see the list, right? Here you have all the options: accounting, supply chain, employees, relationships, we have customers, vendors. So whatever is there in the list or whatever entities, you can give the access to those in the list section. Okay, so example, if you want the user this particular role to be able to access a particular list such as employee, customer, or vendor, so here you can give the role and the level of the access. Similarly, setup in the sense, here you have all the options, right? Company information, accounting preferences, general preferences, and all other setup related stuff, or say accounting list and all those stuff. So here you can give the setup related information or setup related access. Okay, and on the custom record, you can define whether these particular roles should be able to edit, or you can say access a particular custom record. We went to the custom record, right, in one session.
Yes.
So in case if you want to give the access to that particular custom record to a particular role, we can do it from here. Okay, so any queries related to the permissions? So here you can divide it into 5 things: transactions, reports, list, setup, and custom record. Now it is for you to decide or understand which particular thing will fall under which particular section. You should be able to differentiate that, right? Yes, this is a transaction, so it should be under transaction. This is a list, or this is a part of the setup. Then you should be able to differentiate that. In case if you are not able to, you'll have to just search in those things in these particular different sections and give the permissions accordingly. Do you get it? In list, what are you going to select? You will not find sales order under list. You'll only find it in transaction. Transaction is a different thing. List is a different thing, right? List such as customer, vendors, employees, all the entities, chart of accounts, and all other stuff. They are not transactions. Sales order is a transaction. See, you
Okay.
will not be able to see sales order.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Each and everything would be unique. You will not be able to see two things under two sections.
Okay.
Okay. Going ahead, restrictions. Okay, similar to this. This was a earlier thing. Okay. Here you would be able to define what are the restrictions that you would like to set. Okay, but now NetSuite has come up with another thing. So in case if you want to restrict it apart from these particular employee restrictions, in case if you want to give any other restrictions on the segments, you can do that. So you can select the segment. So for example, you can select a particular department. Location. You can define the restriction here, whether none, ordinate, subordinate, or own and only. In case if you have selected this, you will be able to check this checkbox, apply allow viewing or not, similar to the one that we saw here. Okay. So in case if you want to have any other restrictions apart from that, you can define it here. Got it? Going ahead, forms. So yesterday we went to the forms as well, right? On the forms, you could define that in case if you want to give a particular role that particular access, right, to that particular form. But I mentioned that we generally don't do that on the form, we do that on the role level. Do you remember that?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so here on the role we can define for which particular role what should be the access to a particular form. Okay, so for here, now for example, for transaction, here you have bills, right, and various forms that are there for bills. So for example, you have primary supplier bill plus landed cost and standard. So in case if you don't want this particular user to be able to access the standard role and the primary supplier plus landed cost, only this particular bill. So whenever this particular role will log in into the system and will try to create a bill, he'll be able to see, or only this particular form would be shown to that particular role. Okay. And in case if we are giving multiple you can say permissions, or you can say permissions to multiple bills, you can define it here which would be the preferred one. Okay, so you can do it on the role level as well. So you can do it for various transactions. So here you will get the list of all the transactions: bill, cash sale, purchase order, invoice, estimate. Every transaction would show up here and you would see all the forms. Okay, so in case if you want to give access to a particular form only, so you can give it here. And in case if you're giving it to multiple forms, you can also define which would be the preferred one. Okay. In a similar fashion, you can also define the item forms. So in case if there are multiple item forms, you can define which form should be shown to a particular role. Similarly, custom record. On the custom record, we had seen, right, that you can create multiple forms for a custom record as well. Okay. So in case if you want to give access to a particular form of the custom record, you can select it here. Similarly, you can do it for others such as bill of materials, time entry. Entity will have all the contacts, customer, vendors, and all other you can say entities and list. So here you can define which particular form should be shown to a particular role. CRM, campaigns, and all other stuff. Other records, in case if there are any other records, such as in case if we have installed some other modules as well. So here you will be able to see all those stuff. Similarly for inventory detail as well. So whatever forms that are there, in case if you want to give access to a particular form, you can do it here. Are we okay till now?
Okay.
Okay. Similarly for searches are nothing but saved searches. So in case if you want to give access to a particular search, you can do it here. Okay, but we generally don't do it on the role. Whenever we create a particular search, on the search itself we define which are the roles which should be able to view a particular search. So generally we don't use this. Similarly, you can have role level preferences as well. So in case if you want to give role level preferences, you can define it on this preferences tab. Similarly, dashboard, in whether these particular roles should be able to publish the dashboard or not, and in case if yes, what should be the dashboard that should be seen by this particular role. And same for translation, in case if we are having different languages, if we want this role to be known as known with a different role or different name in different languages, you can define the translation. So this is how you can define a, or you can say customize a particular role. Any questions, any queries? See, the earlier these was only related to this. You can say, so whatever restrictions that you see here, they have come. You can say they have the latest one. Okay, so NetSuite introduced this just a year or so, year ago or so. Okay, earlier it was only this one, employee restriction, and also you had option for you can say restricting it as per location or department. So what they have done is they have just transferred this stuff to this particular subtab.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Apart from that, any questions?
No, from my side.
Okay. So apart from that, you also have a couple of other options. So depending on these, if you have defined a role and if you have given access to a particular user with a particular role, you can go to setup, users and roles, and click on manage users. Here you will be able to see all the users whom the access have been given, the name, email ID, role, and to which particular role it has been given. So a particular user might be given multiple roles. Okay, so here you can see that Ankle and Water has been given access to multiple customer centers. Okay, so here you can define those accordingly. So here you will get the list of all the users to whom the access has been given. Okay. Apart from that, so this is just for information purposes. In case if you want to know which particular user or how many users have been given access and which particular role, you can see it from here. You can just go to setup, users and roles, and manage users. Similarly, in case if you want to see the login audit trail, who logged in, when was he logged, what was the time, what was the email ID, you can come here and just click on submit. So if you click on submit, you will be able to see the date. So if I sort that out, you can see that you have logged in with a particular on a particular date. What was the email ID, user, what's the role, what was the email ID, and whether it was a success or a failure. Okay. So here you will be able to see which are the users who have logged in with which particular role. Okay. And the last thing related to roles and permissions is if you want to compare two different roles, okay, or multiple roles, so you can do that. So you can just go to setup, user roles, and click on view role differences. Here you will be able to see the differences between two roles. Okay, so for example, I'll just select the role. So say US controller. This is the base role. So it would get compared, or whatever roles that you select here would get compared to the base role. and I can multi-select. So in case if I want to select these 3 roles, I want to compare these 3 roles, I can compare it with this particular base role. And whether I want to show all the things or just the differences, I can define it here. So in case if I want to show everything, I can just uncheck this and click on show. So it will show me the permissions. So what's the category, whether it's a list or a custom record or a transaction, everything would be shown here. So here you can see setup, transactions, everything. Okay, what is the permission and what is the level of the permissions to each and every role that we had selected. So for example, accounts, the chart of accounts, the US controller has full access. Okay, but the sales rep, purchasing inventory manager, and marketing manager has none. Okay, so they will not be able to see the accounts. Are we okay till now? Okay, so in case if you want to see only differences, you can just go to show role differences. So I'll again select the US controller. I'll select some other roles again, and I want to see only differences. Okay, so it will only show the differences. In case if all the users or all the roles have the same permission, it will not show up here. Okay, and you can take an extract of this in case if you want to, and share it with the client so that they can just make the differences, and accordingly you can make the required changes to the role. Okay, so this is how you can customize a particular role, view the differences between a particular role. You can view the users as well to whom the access has been given, and also you can define or you can see the view audit trail or the audit trail of the login that has been done. Apart from that, there is one small thing related to two-factor authentication. So it will show you which are the roles to whom the two-factor authentication is applicable. So if you click on it, it will show you the roles for which the access has been given or not, and whether you want to give the access. So for example, in case if you want to give the two-factor authentication required for CEO, and what should be the device for the maximum trusted, you can say duration, you can define it here. So here you can define it on the role as well, or you can define it for all the roles together under these particular two-factor authentication rules. Is that fine? Okay.
Okay, well.
Any questions, any queries? So in case if you have any queries or something like that, you can come to me, or you can just click on help and you'll be able to see the help associated with it. Okay.
Okay.
So any questions from previous sections that we have gone through during these days? Okay, so that's it for today. See you tomorrow again. Tomorrow we'll start off with the say either we'll go through reports and save searches, or we'll go through what's remaining.
Workflow, CSV.
Yeah, workflows. CSV will not take that much time, so we'll try to complete it depending on the time that we have. So, but the workflows and reports and save searches, we'll see what we can start tomorrow. Okay.
Oh,
Okay. So that's it for today. See you tomorrow. Bye.
bye. Bye.